He's gonna get. He's gonna fight me. He's something like me. He thinks he's awesome.
Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this is the box for Enchanters Overlords. Now, Enchanters is a game that came out a while ago and just totally went over my head. I didn't even know it existed. And this is like the expansion for it, the first expansion for it that they did. And there is an expansion right now that's just finishing up on Kickstarter. I think they're going to be doing a pledge event, so depending upon when you see this video, you may not be able to pledge in the Kickstarter, but you should be able to still back it in the pledge manager after the fact. But all that being said, is that this is a fantastic card game. If you watch this channel, you know that I am not the biggest fan of like just straight card games or just straight deck building games. They kind of tend to rub me the wrong way. I guess I just want more to sink my teeth into, and it's just not my thing. Now, every once in a while, I will find a game that has some sort of like deck planning or deck building involved in it that will then the game itself will have like some more wrinkles and some more fun to it. But the big thing for me is that like this type of game takes something that I really like. One of the things I've always detested about like a deck building game is like setup time. And like one of the like deck building games I really have always enjoyed was Ascension, because of the fact it was just one giant deck of cards and you just shuffled it up and you were ready to go. That takes this idea where like you shuffle up a few decks of cards, you put them together, and then all of a sudden you're ready to go and you're ready to play a game. And then it also takes something like the whole like deciding which one of these cards that are set up in a row, which one you're going to take, and then you build up a tableau in front of you. And that's something I've always enjoyed as well. It kind of takes a little bit of like the old school Thunderstone and stuff like that and applies it. But this is a game that like you can set it up and be ready to play in about 5-10 minutes. There's like a bajillion cards and all these different combinations that you can play with, and it's just a heck of a lot of fun. Now, ostensibly, this video is about the Odyssey's expansion that is just in there right now, but it also is a review of Enchanters and Enchanters Overlords, so you can have an idea of how the game is played. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how the game is played. I'm going to go over the stuff that is going to be included in the Odyssey's expansion, and then I'm going to like let you just kind of dive into it and see if you think this would be a game that you and your group, your family, would enjoy. So let's do that. I'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. So in case you aren't familiar with Enchanters, I'm just going to go over really briefly how the game is played. As I said, this game has a lot of the aspects of some of my favorite, like kind of card drafting, deck building type of situation type games. Now, I said deck building, but this game doesn't really have deck building in it. It does have like a tableau building, if you will, that you'll like increase power as the game goes on. And it kind of skirts around some of the stuff that I would find in card games that I just didn't really enjoy, and focuses on the things that I like. And that's like slowly leveling your character up, having kind of a deterministic situation as you go along, and just each game being its own different puzzle because of all the different possible things that could be happening. Just the way the game is set up is that you're going to take one kingdom deck per player that's playing, so up to 4, so you'd have 4 kingdom decks. I've set up with just 2 kingdom decks over here. I have cultists and goblins as my 2 kingdom decks. You shuffle those together and you set those up as in this pile over here. Now, as you can see, there's this giant stack of cards over there. That's like all the other kingdom decks. So literally, there's so many different combinations that you're never really going to be at a loss for something new and something different that you're going to play. You can play pretty straightforward as far as without like an overlord. I do have an overlord selected right here. I have the city that we're going to be having right there. You get big decks of those as well, as far as like the city and also the overlord right here. These decks, like, once again, tons of options, tons of things that you can mess around with, if you will. The way the game works is that you're going to have this tableau in front of you, and on your turn you're going to take an action, resolve that action, and then you're going to just hand over to somebody else to take their action. Most of the time your actions are going to be taking one of these cards off of the tableau and adding them to your player board in front of you. You do that by either taking like an enchantment or a weapon or like an item basically, or as you dig deeper into the deck, you will find monsters that you'll have to defeat. The game continues until this deck is completed. Once that deck is completed, you will then have like total up how many points each person has. And most of the time you're going to get points by defeating monsters, or if you have an overlord, by defeating the overlord over here. Sometimes you won't take a card, and as your action you'll take a rest action. The rest action, what it does is determined by the city that you have. So in this case we have Dwarfburg as the city, and so this X here is this rest action. So you can do one of these possible things where with a rest action you can take some extra gems. Gems are these tokens up here, and those are what you're going to be using to purchase cards. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. And some of them will, like, if you take a rest action, you just get to take 3 gems. If you here take a rest action, you could take 1 gem for each shield icon you have built up in your tableau that you have in front of you. Or if you want to heal damage, you can heal like by spending 1 and healing damage. There's also a multi-action, so like if you did an attack and you wanted to spend, you want to kill a monster and you didn't have enough strength to defeat it, you could spend 2 gems to get an extra attack here. And then at the end of the game, it tells you right here, you're going to get 1 extra point for each shield that you have built up on your tableau. And so, as I said, there's tons of these different cities. And then you'll probably have those as options to randomly choose, or have the players choose, or however you want to handle that. I'm just going to show you the Overlord quick, just so you can kind of see this. The Overlord will give you a health total, which is 4. That's how many points of damage you have to be able to do to the general to be able to defeat it in battle. You don't really kill it, but you will get one of those like the green victory icons that are over there. You get that for defeating that, and then like he does 5 damage, and those damage will automatically be done to you, and you take them as wound tokens that are over here. You can't ever die, but wound tokens are going to count against your points at the end of the game. So you might be taking rest actions to heal and so forth. Because you're going to slowly, if you've ever played a game where you have cards that slowly swipe to the left, when cards are discarded, depending upon the type of card, it'll do something to you. So if you have to discard this type of card, the Overlord attacks the current player, meaning that they're going to do damage automatically. Or here it says the Overlord attacks all the players, one of those things. So it's just totally one of those situations where as the cards, the monster has like kind of an AI that they'll do it. And again, there's tons of these different overlords, and each time you play one, it's going to be slightly different. And then at the end of the game, where you can see where, like if you defeated the overlord, you give them those tokens. Those tokens give you a shield, but they're also going to be worth 4 victory points at the end of the game. So, and then to fight it as an action, you fight the overlord. You have to spend 2 gems just to fight the overlord by doing that. And again, there are tons of these options that you're going to have available to you, and randomly choose or whatever you want to fight in that particular situation. Now, if you're just going to take a card, you have to spend the gems, and you start with 5 gems at the beginning of the game. You have to spend the gems to take the card. And if you notice, this card costs nothing to take. This card takes 1 gem, and so on and so forth, you can see. So there might be a card that's really good over here, but you don't have enough gems to get it, so you hopefully have to wait until it slides further down and nobody else takes it out of order. Now, some of these things will just be kind of straightforward, where like you'll just see like it's a longsword, and the longsword, as you can see, has a 2 attack and it has a 2 shield. And so if you take this, notice how you start with a fist of enchanting to start with. What you do is you start by taking these things and you place them on the board like so. If you ever are in a situation where you take another, and I should have showed this to you, but you can see there's like this little anvil there, and that means that this is your like item. These are this artifact that you build as you go along. Well, if like later on you took, and actually I'm going to do this in reverse order. So let's say you started with this axe that just like has this defense. So, but if you took a shield, or you took this longsword next, you can see you don't cover up what's on the bottom of the card, and so you can continue to build those up. The enchants work exactly the same way. So if you started with like the enchanting of fire here, and then later on you went to of protection, you would like still be able to keep that sword that's on the bottom. So as the game progresses, you will level up, and I do like games where you get to level up as the game proceeds. Now I just want to dig through here and like maybe find a couple of monsters just to show you exactly what you have. So like here you have like here's an ogre. Like, so this is I did kind of pick it to be thematic, with the thing, but normally you don't have to do that. You can have any overlord you want. So here's an ogre. Notice how like doesn't have a lot of health, but he has a ton of damage capability, and he also deals double damage. And so when you take damage, you get to minus how much defense you have. But then, like, and so in this case, if I attacked it and I defeated it with and I only had 4 total defense, and like he had a 6 attack, he would do 2 points of damage, but I have to deal double damage. So I'd take a total of 4 damage in that situation. Here we have a cultist of evil, and like he has a 4 health and 1 attack. But notice how if you defeat him, I get to give one of my wounds to another player. So I mean, there's things like that that will interact with each player as such. And as I said, it's just, and also I should mention that if you look at the bottom of each one of these monsters, there's going to be like a glory total, point total there that you're going to be able to add up at the end of the game. And the things do level up. Like here's like a suspiciously looking great old one that has, and notice how it says give 4 of your wounds to other players if you defeat that. And so, and as you defeat monsters, you will place them into your location here and then keep adding those up. Each one that you defeat, you slowly have more and more, and then you'll be able to total up those points once the game is over. You will deduct the points of your wounds, of course, as I said. And I mean, that's really how the game works. And because of the sheer number of different overlords you have, because of the sheer number of different cities you have so many more options as far as like delving into the game and attacking it in a different way. Now, I wanted to just kind of go over that really quickly to kind of show you what that is, but I also wanted to talk about the expansion that's live right now on Kickstarter. And again, this is a situation where I've done reviews about Kickstarters a lot, and I've done reviews about expansions a lot. And the one thing I really like about expansions are when they don't really mess with the rules too much, where they just say, okay, here's more stuff. And thankfully, I'm very happy to announce that the Odyssey expansion does exactly that. It adds some more cool things, and there's some slight changes to the rules. Like in the seashell deck, you'll get like seashells, which work exactly like the normal currency, but they regenerate back into your bank, so you get to keep going. But you're going to get a ton of new decks of cards that you're going to be able to play with, and you'll be able to add these to like the giant stack of stuff that you have over there, and to keep that going, and I even missed one. Here's another deck of cards. Like here's like this like Medusa deck, and these are all kind of thematic for different situations. Like the centaurs are ranged. The seashell deck has like a shark monster in there, but it's kind of neat how they went through that process. You're gonna get more of the, and these once again will theme well. So like here's like the shark overlord that would go with that seashell deck, and also like the cities themselves. Like here is like the underwater sea, and once again, you don't have to match those up with those particular cards. You don't, that isn't a necessary situation. You can definitely just mix whatever you want. Now I want to mention 2 things that I really liked about this. So this game is highly competitive, obviously, because you're just trying to make sure that you get the points before anybody else does, and you can kind of mess with each other a little bit. So there is now a cooperative version of the game. This is like in Co-opville, and it has actually some very specific like overlords that are associated. So these like having a cooperative version of the game is definitely, if you're a fan of co-op games, or if you want to change the game up a little bit, that is definitely an option that you do. But this is the one thing that I liked probably more than anything. So there are these 2 decks of cards that there are these banner cards, and then there are these like description cards, I guess is actually the best way to do it. And so before the game begins, what you can do is you can deal each person one of these and one of these, and then instead of starting with that Fist of Enchanting, you can start with like, you could be like a ghoul of rogues, or you know, you could be not normally, let's go wood elf of druids, and so you'd have, and each of these has like a little special ability, like when healing any number of wounds, take one gem. Here is after taking these are those are, I should actually show you that, but after taking that, then you would gain heal a wound when you take that eye. Here is like the Amazon banner. Like, so this is like the journey track. That's the journey action when you take a card. So like here it is, after a journey of 3 or more, you heal a wound if you're going to be the Amazon. Or here the Triton banner, it's just, you can just spend gems to heal yourself if you want. And so the fact that like you don't just have to start with that basic Fist of Enchanting, I think really adds a lot to the game, and you know, adds a lot to like just to kind of thematically bring the game up a little bit. And once again, it's a very slight, very tiny rules change that really doesn't mess with the core of the game at all, and it makes it, you know, it just changes it up, and it presents a brand new way to play. I can't imagine. I missed out on the very first Kickstarter of this, and I'm kind of annoyed that I did, because it hits on all these different levels that I really like. And now, thankfully, with this new Kickstarter, you can just basically get everything all in one giant box and get everything delivered, and you can have the full complete game. So let me talk more about all of that in my final thoughts. All right, so there you go. That, well, technically was Enchanters Overlords, but it's more than that. So I really can't say more about what I've already said, the stuff that I really like about it. I mean, obviously what I said was that, like, the fact that you just, boom, you set it up, you hand each person 5 crystals, and you take those decks of cards, you shuffle them together, and then you're ready to go and ready to play. The fact that, you know, and I know a lot of people say, oh, replayability, replayability, replayability. And I've actually said, you know, replayability may not be that big of a deal anymore, because of the fact that we just kind of, for the large part, maybe play a game 3, maybe 4 times in a year, just because of the sheer number of games that are out there. But this is a game that when I was playing with my daughter and with my son and with my wife, it was one of those things where, because it was so easy to set up, because it was so easy to get up and ready to go right away, it was one of those things that it became the game we played on game night. And you would play a game of it, and then and my son would say, I want to play with you know, I don't want to play with the goblins anymore. Let's play with the bandits. You know, and okay, fine. And then, like, let's change out this city, and I want to use this city instead. I want to have like the Grand Vizier as the overlord. And so we would mix and match all those things, and we would just attack it in a different way. And it was something that, like, because of all those different options, because of all those different puzzles that you'd have as the game was played, we would just go at it over and over and over again. And I found myself playing Enchanters over and over again. And it wasn't a situation where it's like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore. It was like, yeah, let's use that. Let's use the goblins with that deck. Let's go ahead, and with obviously the new stuff like the centaurs. I really like that ocean. The ocean decks and the ocean city, and like that shark guy as the overlord. I mean, those things just add so much more into the game. It makes the game, and it isn't just something really boring and simple. It's like, where it's like, oh, you know, this one's got, you have to spend 3 gems for this or something like that. No, I mean, there are like really definitive, like thematic things that are just purposely made for each one of those different decks, and they make sense, and they make sense that that's like the overlord that you're fighting, that makes sense that that's the city that you're defending, and things like that really made the game attractive to me, to be played over and over again in a game night. And that's really rare right now. I mean, it's one of those things where, yeah, okay, you'll play a game, you really like it, and you'll think, oh, okay, you put that in the back of your head, and you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind playing that game again. But there's always a new game, right? There's always a new game that you got to tear the shrink off, that you're going to sit down and you're going to play that. And for me to actually have a game that, like, I want to play over and over again in an evening, that's a real rarity. And Enchanters did that for me and my family, and my gaming group for that matter. So if you're looking for something like that, I'd strongly suggest you go ahead and check this out. So if you have any questions, by all means, please ask away. I'll be happy to answer those as best as I can. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I do apologize that I've been kind of out of the loop as far as the videos go. I'm going to have a video blog talking about why I have been gone, and you'll probably be able to watch that here in a little bit. But regardless, check this out. Ask the questions if you got them. Be the best version of you possibly can be. And until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and you are awesome.